Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Extra Point here on ESPN Denver 1600. As always, I'm your host, Roland Rainey, and joined with the cadre, Robert from New Jersey, Jeremy from Indiana, and Justice from New York. And it is my absolute pleasure and honor to introduce a special guest today, and that is Mr. Philip Blackwell, who is the director for the NFL Regional Combines, and who is also coming to us live from the University of Alabama, as he is there as the executive director for the first ever historically Black colleges and universities combine. He's also played in the NFL. He's been a player, a wide receiver with the Washington Redskins, now the Washington football team, the Steelers, and the Panthers. Mr. Blackwell, welcome to the Extra Point.
Good day, everybody. How y'all doing? I want to first correct you and say it's University of Alabama at Birmingham. We're not at Tuscaloosa.
At Birmingham.
Yes, sir.
All right. So
How's
you're at
everybody
the
doing
University
today?
of Alabama at Birmingham.
Yes.
All right. So how is it going down there as you get ready to prepare for this historical event? Can you give us the audience, your thoughts on being a part of this, and not just being a part of it, but leading this historical effort?
Oh man, well I'm super excited, man. Last night, man, we had a awesome a welcoming dinner where Stephen A. Smith highlighted, and Stephen A. Smith was his self, man, and talking to the players, got everybody nice and pumped. He was supposed to be here live and he couldn't. So therefore, he via telecast, man, he talked to all the players at dinner. Then he gave the players a surprise. Since he wasn't able to make it due to his flight and stuff from New York, he gave every player $100, travel bonus. So that was really cool. A little upset that the staff didn't get the 100, but I'm just saying. So I think the best thing for me to do for everybody and all your listeners right now is just go through what happened yesterday all the way up to this point to what's going to go on today. Would everybody think that's good? Okay. So
Let's do it.
Okay, so yesterday the guys arrived here in Birmingham, checked in here at the Hilton Birmingham at UAB, and when they checked in, we did COVID testing for those who did not have any COVID tests done within the past 48 hours. We understand because the guys are coming from different states and stuff. It wasn't as easy. But if they came with a negative test, they went ahead through the registration process. But if they didn't have a negative test, UAB Health Department has stepped in and helped us out, and they administered the rapid test and did the quarantine room. I mean, basically, which is our new way of life now. So we did all of that, and then after that, they went to educational components. The players were, of course, socially distanced, and we had 3 speakers, I being one of them. The players heard about financial literacy. The players heard of. We hired a life coach to come in and talk to the players about transitioning, because a lot of these players are, of course, ending their careers in that limbo world right now of where they're going to go. And then we had a former NFL scout come in and give them the nitty gritty, closed doors. This is what scouts are looking at. This is what they're looking for, and informing the players from that point on that they've been evaluated when they got out the car, when they got out the shuttle. We evaluate each one of those players from there. Then after the 3 1-hour components, we went to dinner, and at dinner we surprised 2 players with an award for their community service work. I don't know the exact players right this second, but I could get it to you guys. But we rewarded those guys. We had some video conferences, some people just talking to the guys, and Gatorade surprised us with these personalized boxes for each player, and the staff did get one. So, got my name on something. So, and after dinner, we went right to work. Those who hadn't done their interviews or the media wanted to talk to them, they went to do interviews. But the offensive line, defensive line, tight ends, fullbacks, and linebackers all went over to the UAB weight room, and we then started the bench press testing. So we did bench press testing last night, and then now we're here this morning, ready to go and start again. As you can hear in the background, breakfast is going on. But today we're going to enter the facility one group at a time. So the first group this morning is linebackers, and it's a group of 7 of them. Those 7 are going to enter the building, and when they enter the building, we're going to loosen them up, and then go right into the 40-yard dash. After the 40-yard dash, we're going to go to position drills. Then after the position drills, they're going to go to their vertical jump, broad jump, short shuttle, and 3-cone. And then they're done for the day. That's when they get their $100 as they're walking out the door. We also have some surprises for them that I can let out the box now because they don't know. Under Armour gave us these really nice backpacks with the HBCU logo on it. East Bay donated some stuff. I would like to highlight some of the local organizations here in Alabama who just donated stuff from pens, pencils, the mayor here, the head coach at UAB. Everybody's been super welcoming. So back to the schedule. We're going to do that schedule one group at a time. So at 8 o'clock, linebackers come. The next group at 9 o'clock, another group's going to come. So when one group's leaving the building, another group gets to come in the building, give us a chance to disinfect and wipe things down, that type of stuff. Also, the largest group we have total is 10 guys. So we've invited 105 players, but we have 45 confirmed. And then as of 2 days ago, one more dropped out because he performed at Grambling's and University of Florida's Pro Day. So he's tapped out, and I definitely understand that. So we'll have 44 guys here today, and we're ready to rock and roll.
Well, hey, Philip, I would tell you this has to be such a special moment for you and the staff to do something so significant and shine a light on some talented players, because we all know that this was supposed to happen in 2020, but because of COVID, it got canceled. But hey, we were able to have great COVID protocols put in place, and now it's going to happen. So I'm gonna swing it out to my colleagues to ask a couple of questions. So let's swing it out to Jeremy out in Indiana.
Hey, Phil. So with this being the first inaugural historically black college and university combine, can you kind of describe the process of how you invited these 105 players and kind of the process behind that? Who did you consult and who to bring in?
Well, hey, Jeremy, that was really easy. Just like you said, we at the NFL Regional Combines had 50 players invited last year, and that was canceled due to COVID. And just to add to what Roland said, we had it planned also again this year. It was already set, location, and everything. It was also canceled along with the main combine in Indianapolis. So we just invited those 50 players from last year because they didn't get a shot, And then we tapped all 32 NFL teams and asked them, each team, what HBCU player you have on your board. We got all of those names, compiled that list. Of course, some of the names were overlapped. And we said we're going to invite 100, but after it all overlapped with the 50 from last year, and we eliminated the 50, some guys from the 50 from last year who were on teams already or who did get a shot, got into training camp, that type of stuff. So we didn't re-invite those guys. So that's how that list of 105 came up. And then it dwindled because some of the guys are using that extra year that the NCAA granted them to come back this upcoming season. So they declined, but guys like, hey, don't forget me next year, and it's great because we're already looking at joining next year. UAB and the city of Birmingham has already asked us, hey, let's do a minimum of 3 years here in Birmingham. So that's really great. And because of the way that the schedule was going this year with these colleges playing in the spring, that was the best way of getting, because we didn't have time to see who was going to be All-Americans or All-Conference or anything. So we just got any player that had interest or sparked some interest from an NFL team, and that's how we invited them.
So let's go out to Justice in New York.
Hey, Phil, great to talk to you today. I'm glad you could join us. My question for you was, you talked about, evaluating players right when they landed, right when they got out of the car and stuff like that. And, being there in Indy with you for the National Scouting Combine, we were on the field with you. We got to, watch the players go through drills with you. and kind of see it from your eyes, a former scout, a former football player. Could you tell, the people out there, what do you look for in players? What kind of traits do you look for in these players when they're going through drills? Are you looking for, how they listen, how they pick up information, how they move? What exactly do you look for in this type of setting?
Well, that's a good question. I think the best thing to say is you're looking for a guy to be a professional. It doesn't have to be professional football player. This guy needs to be a professional. He needs to be a professional on and off the field, and because he's trying to get a job in one of the largest media markets in the world. So if he goes to Disney World with his kid and does something wrong, it's going to be on your show. So we're looking for that guy who already has those intangibles already inside of him. And if he has those intangibles, that's just a start, because sometimes physical talent isn't the deciding feature. Because if you have two guys that are exact the same, I use Adam Thielen as an example when we saw him at the NFL regionals. Like, his mannerisms was just as good as his game. So it was just like, wow, like this guy comes from, a good pedigree. So we're looking at everything. I mean, how a guy carries himself, how he interacts with coaching, how does he interact with his fellow players, how does he take criticism? Because sometimes we as scouts will pick up something just to see how he reacts. Like, hey, you should pull your shorts up, or hey, you didn't run that as crisp as Cam Newton would have did it. And we try to see how that guy comes back, because guess what? This guy is trying to get a job to be with Cam Newton. So he needs to be able to get in that locker room and be cohesive with everybody. So that's the first thing. I mean, I know a lot of people tend to think that we're looking at strictly physical attributes, but no, it really starts with just the human side of this. Can this guy be a gentleman? Can this guy represent the Shield well? Can this guy represent his organization well? On top of course, representing his family.
Robert.
Yeah, Phil, once again, thanks for coming on and joining us. I'm just, honored to actually, do this interview with you, to kind of be a part of what's going on place in, Alabama in regards to the HBCU Combine. But just like Roland mentioned earlier, I just kind of want to harp back on the significance of this actual event. And just like we talked about, it supposed to happen last year, but it got canceled due to COVID in Miami. Now it's happening in Alabama. We've seen a long, line of HBCU players come out to actually have an impact on the next level in the NFL. Just some of the names off the top of my head: Jerry Rice, your Aeneas Williams, your Michael Strahans. And right now, one of your best linebackers in the game right now, Darius Leonard, for the Indianapolis Colts. So with that being said, I just want to just harp on the monumental aspect that it is to have this moving forward. And could you just talk to our audience about when did you guys put this in motion? When did you guys start planning this? And just talk to our audience about that.
Okay, yeah. So first thing, talking about monumental event, when I first logged onto this podcast here, I say, I'm being interviewed by James Harden. Wow, but then I read your name, I thought James Harden was on here interviewing me. But guys, what happened was we already know that the HBCUs do not necessarily have the same level playing field as some of the bigger colleges, the talent pool, and that's a fact. I don't want to try to say that's not the truth, but there is that one or two guy. Hey, you didn't name Walter Payton. Like, what? It's the Walter Payton Man of the Year? What? James Harden stay with basketball? But what we wanted to do was give them an opportunity. So this conversation came up in October when colleges were saying, hey, we're not going to do it. So we started talking about how many different types of athletes, and I'm saying that different types of athletes that are going to miss out. Seniors coming out of high school, seniors coming out of any sport, or because there's some seniors get to stay in college, so the colleges don't have to go to recruit that senior coming out of high school because you still have roster limits and that type. So this came together, and then it just started snowballing. Coach Yogi Jones, which is a coach at Bethune-Cookman, he spearheaded this event by going out and on his own dime looking for people to help facilitate this. And he found Mr. Ulyss Payne. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's the former GM for the Milwaukee Brewers. He he asked him about it to help, maybe donate to the cause. And when Mr. Payne heard about it, being a former national championship basketball player with Marquette, if you guys don't know that, he's like, yeah, no brainer. I would love to get these guys a shot. What can I do? And then they went down the line, and all of a sudden I get sucked in, and other people get sucked in. And when they brought me in, I then went to my guys who worked at NFL Regional and said, hey, man, let's do what we do for this small group of players. Mr. Payne said, yes, Phil, you're now the executive director. I'm like, what? What's that? I got the title, But, we were all in this for the right reasons. I mean, it wasn't there's no monetary gain. There's nothing. We're just in this to provide these guys with the best opportunity possible. So that format I told you guys about, it's actually a copy of the NFL Regional Combine. The whole format from the dinner all the way up. The only thing we added to the format was the educational components. And we added that because these are HBCU players, and I know that they don't necessarily have all the resources there for 4 or 5 years of college that I might have had. So therefore, we wanted to provide them with something, like having a scout come in and say, "This is what you need to do. Why you need to have your pants up? Why you need to say, sir, yes, sir? Why you can't tear your shirt?" So we added that to kind of help them out before we got into the dinner. And when we got into the dinner, it's hardcore rocking and rolling from that point on. So in October we started this plan. It just kept coming together. We looking for corporate sponsors, looking for locations to host it, and amazingly, we didn't find any place that said no. Everywhere. Tampa Bay Buccaneers said yes, no problem. You're going to have it here. We're like, okay, cool. And then Jacksonville Jaguars like, no, you're going to have it here. And then the Washington football team said, no, you can have it here. Just because all three of their head coaches are big minority and diversity guys. So they stepped in. And so we thought we were going to have it there, but the NFL said, they don't. The NFL said there's a mandate, nothing in their facilities, which we understood. So then we started calling colleges. And most colleges said, yes, we want to do it, but, and then it's like, we need to go to our health department. We need to go to the higher ups. And everybody said, well, can you do it next year due to, let's hope the world is a little bit better. But when we talked for the first conversation with Coach Clark here at UAB, he said, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And just to tell everybody that's listening, like, this is a big weekend for UAB and HBCU, because UAB, this is their coaches clinic weekend. Yesterday was their pro day for their senior players, and yesterday was their NFL combine for the guys that they had that was going to perform at the NFL combine in Indy. They put that on yesterday, and then now for the end off their weekend after we're done, they're having their spring game. And they already just told us yesterday, it was really cool, that next year, they're opening up a new stadium, and they want us to do this combine in their new stadium, which is already an awesome facility now. So that's how it all came about, and it's just been little things after another. Different surprising phone calls from people like Gatorade. Gatorade said, NFL Combine's not going on this year. How about we give all your players everything we would give the guys in Indianapolis? Do you want it? I said, only if the staff gets some. Buying for myself.
Work that staff angle.
We'll work it out. So those companies came in. UAB Health Department stepped in and said, oh, we're going to help you out with the COVID stuff. There's Regions Bank here, stepped in and said, we're going to come in and help with the financial literacy piece. The players were also offered to put through job interviews yesterday for Regions Bank because they're seniors. So if anybody was interested in applying, they did on-the-spot interviews, legit job interviews in shorts and a T-shirt. But, that's what they wanted to do. So the inception of this whole thing has really come, and I'm just excited. Like, I'm ready to go get it in because I want to come back and talk to you guys and go, it was a great event. This is what happened. These guys stood out. This guy did not stand out, whatever. And I want the listeners to understand that every one of these guys is not going to play professional football. Let's just be realistic. Everybody that plays for Alabama and Clemson don't play professional football. We just want to give these guys an opportunity to be seen. And that's all we're doing. Opportunity to be seen and to the exact specifications of the NFL.
Hey, Phil, you already hit that word opportunity. And one of the questions I have is, come Monday morning, when all is said and done, now we have to start looking at the future. And what do you think this event and all the significant and relevant parties that are involved over the next 2 to 3 years, how do you envision this event evolving into something larger? Do you believe that there's going to be a closer relationship with the NFL, maybe some senior leaders in that front office to get heavily involved in this, especially at a time where, some of the social injustices and things that we've been looking at over the last couple of years are really important for HBCUs. So how do you see this evolving over time?
Well, over time, I see this blowing up into something big. Once again, we're not reinventing the wheel. It's what the NFL already put in place, thanks to Troy Vincent. He's a big HBCU guy, HBCU supporter, and being the vice president of the NFL, he's already had this initiative. It's just COVID stepped in. And I'll be honest with you guys, if COVID didn't step in, we wouldn't be doing this event because the events would have happened. It would be going on every year. And I'm pretty sure the NFL is probably going to try to do it again next year. And if they do, we would just want to show them that we have the platform to do it, and maybe we can combine. I mean, if they would like to. But we're completely understanding that they might do their own. But if they come and join us, or we join them, or for no apparent reason other than providing the location for all the teams to come to evaluate the players that they want to see. We didn't pick just anybody. We picked players that pro football clubs have already had some type of interest in. And it's the same that they would do anyway. But I see this definitely happening for multiple years. Hopefully we get some more corporate sponsors, because the guys didn't pay anything to be here. They didn't even pay for their hotel rooms. They didn't pay for breakfast right now, which y'all got me missing. But they didn't pay for dinner last night. As you heard, Stephen A. Smith is donating his pay to give them $100 toward travel voucher. They didn't pay anything. They pay for their own transportation to and from. And we were just the same as the NFL. NFL, they invite them. They provide the location and the hotel. These guys come. So we would love to keep this going, of course, with more corporate sponsorship, just to help fulfill the bill. UAB and the Hilton here, they've rolled out the red carpet for us. Everything has been first class. And being a person who has worked the NFL regional combines and comparing it to this one, yeah, we're close to being NFL. We just don't have the signage and the Under Armours and that type of stuff. But we're trying to get there, and anything has to start at the bottom and work their way up. And I told that to our crew. We're not necessarily at the bottom, but when you're at the bottom, it's only one place to go, and that's up.
Hey, Phil, since we got you here on the show, especially for the audience out there, I'm going to switch gears on you just for a couple minutes here. There is a lot going on in the NFL as we're on this road towards the draft. There's a lot of significant trade moves that has taken place, especially the recently three-headed beast of the 49ers, the Dolphins, and the Eagles. Is there anything on this path to the draft that is kind of taking you back a little bit, or made you kind of scratch your head going, wow, that was an interesting move?
Actually, no, it's business. What I've actually been focusing on, because of this has obviously consumed my life for the past 5 months. The fact that the NFL will still have those 14 slots in they're staying in the hotels. The reserve guys, if you remember, the Washington team quarterback was one of those guys, in the playoffs. Their starting quarterback in the playoffs was one of those guys they had in reserve. So I'm really into that right now, just because that's giving these guys even more of a chance. I don't know if you guys know, the NFL is paying $14,000 a week to live in a hotel. So I was trying to get a spot, like $14,000 a week. I can watch a lot of ESPN for $14,000 a week and stay in a hotel room. But none of the trades and stuff are surprising me, because teams are desperate. Everybody's desperate for one reason. Everybody needs to win. And Bruce Arians coming back with his whole staff, players, they're the team to beat right now. And you see they did it in one season. So people are worried about them making another run like the Patriots. Not because of Tom Brady. It's just because they were able to keep that whole core team together. Other than that, I haven't really followed much of the trades. I did look at the Jets trade, and I think that was great for Donaldson because don't put your hands down, Justin. I just thought Donald needed a new place. Like I don't think the system and everything worked for him. Why not go to a team that's willing to rebuild? That sucks for Teddy Bridgewater, but it's the NFL,
Hey, Phil, before we wrap up today's session, and once again, thank you for being on with us here at ESPN Denver 1600. Being a black male, being a former NFL player, being someone who has performed at a very peak level in this enterprise of football. What does this moment mean for you to actually be the executive director for something that's going to have lasting impacts?
Ultimate give back. That is it. You guys, we don't have enough time to hear about my story and life in general, but giving back. What I do in my real life, I work at a recreation center home in Baltimore, an inner city recreation center, and I found that was my niche, like just giving back because somebody gave back to me, which got me to where I am. So giving back, and now making the phone calls just weeks ago, 2 months ago, and telling guys that they were invited, and to hear the sniffles, to hear the cracking of the voice, now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm with you, and just, like that was so rewarding. Like some of the things a headache, typical planning of a big party, like, it's a headache, but just those things. We had an onboarding meeting via Zoom with the players and getting them, what to expect, what to come into, that type of stuff. And for players at the end of this meeting to say, we just want to thank y'all. We just want to thank y'all for even doing this. And it was cool because it was selfless. They weren't saying, thank you for inviting me. It was like, no, we want to thank y'all for just doing this, whether you invited me or not. And to hear multiple players echoing that, that was just super satisfying. And then, we don't talk to people on Zoom. We don't talk to people via email and text and that type of stuff, answering their questions. But to see them show up yesterday and, break all the COVID laws because it's like, Phil, we want to hug you and like, get out, But but that was cool. That was cool that these guys are I can tell y'all I'm around 44 very appreciative guys.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to The Extra Point here on ESPN Denver 1600. And today we were joined with Phil Blackwell, who is the executive director for the first ever HBCU Combine. Phil, thank you very much for coming on to the show. Thank you for what you're doing. It is a huge inspiration for a lot of folks out there. And I know I personally, along with the staff here at The Extra Point, are looking forward to nothing but great things out of you and the Combine moving into the future.
Hey, once again, I thank y'all for having me. But y'all really messed me up by bamboozling me thinking that was James Harden right there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all bamboozled me. But, man, guys, thanks. And I look forward to talking to you guys again and maybe following up to give y'all some more insight of what actually happened today.
You're always welcome here on The Extra Point. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Blackwell calling in live from the first ever HBCU Combine. Have a great week.
Peace.